Hey, oh, the Holy Spirit here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of this new Porches record, Pool. Porches is the longtime musical project of Mr. Aaron Maine. This is one of several albums and EPs that he's already dropped under this name. But previous Porches records had not only an entirely different label, this record is now on Domino Records, but an entirely different sound. This thing clearly has a bigger budget behind it, more clarity to the instrumentation, and with that clarity, with that bigger budget, it sounds like Aaron wanted to kind of graduate the project beyond its lo-fi aesthetic, its lo-fi rock aesthetic of the previous records, which is fine. I don't want an artist to have to force a sound that they don't feel natural playing with anymore, especially if they're in a different place creatively. But what the band has graduated to on this record is very simple, straightforward, moody synth pop. It's a little 80s pastiche with a kind of standoffish demeanor. And even though it is very much a pop affair, there's nothing feel-good about it. This thing is like the soundtrack to some light depression or trying to look cool. And even though I do see issues with it on the surface level, deeper, I do think there are some good intentions behind this project. Generally, I think the instrumentals are decent or okay on this thing. They maybe run a little too skeletal and lethargic, but this thing is really upfront. It has nothing to hide. It could have easily been another washed out, synth-led dream pop record that I've been using for the past few months to keep warm this winter. Looks like it could use another Whir record, though. Fuck those guys. The instrumentals on this thing, they're soft, but they're meaty. The beats are really resonant, the synth bass is really resonant, the lead synthesizers are very glossy, they shimmer, they're pretty. Some tracks like Be Apart have a really strong groove to them, or at least a relatively strong groove in comparison with the other tracks. Meanwhile, other songs kind of elicit some very light head bobbing. There are some nice additions to these tracks, some cool synth solos or instrumental bridges. There's a nice saxophone that pops up on the song Shaver that was really sweet. There's some decent hooks here and there. The song Car is definitely a highlight. That song has a lot more energy behind it than some of the other tracks here, and I love the driving bass and drums. Whoa, what a machine! On the song Mood, the chord progressions and the synth leads are really cool. They kind of have a nostalgic quirk to them that reminds me a little bit of Ariel Pink. But the obvious Achilles heel of this project, something that I think takes down the quality of these instrumentals, of these songs, and makes this record difficult to listen to, are the vocals. And given they have not been perfect or top-notch on previous Porches records, you could even argue that that was just a part of the band's style. But that's one of the few things about Porches that seems to have carried over to this new project over here, and it just does not fit all that snugly into these very glossy, sleek, simple synth pop instrumentals. In fact, they sound kind of awkward. Not only is most of the singing on this thing just super lethargic and elongated and moany, but as far as pitch goes, the singing is flat. Flatter than day-old store brand soda that's been sitting out. And the singing can be kind of endearing for a few songs, but it gets really old really fast, especially on the slow cuts. They don't really have a strong beat or an instrumental to kind of carry the track. And then there are a few cuts here that feature auto-tune, which just sound silly. And the off-key singing, I think, could have been helped along with some more passionate vocal deliveries, or maybe even some lyrics that weren't just swallowed. But the singing style on this thing, in a way, is just so one note. Occasionally, Aaron does reach up into his higher register, which isn't exactly on point either, but it is a change of pace. And like I said, his singing does tend to kind of smudge the lyrics to the point where the lyrics are no longer even a focus, if I want it to be one. You know, it's just a shame when a record just has one glaring characteristic about it that makes it difficult for you to enjoy the things on it that you see actual merit in. And I think that the vocals on this record, funnily enough, have some potential to them. Like, maybe the singing could be better with some practice or lessons, or maybe just a little more focus. There are moments where the singing on this record is okay. It just seems like it could have been cleaned up. I'm feeling a light to decent 5 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You the best, you the best. What should I review next? I need sleep. Go to sleep. Anthony Fantano. Porches. Rob Scallon. You're the man. You're the man, Rob Scallon. Forever.